Right. Okay. Now, so what we're talking about, scatter plots. Now you told me you've already done it. We're talking about correlation between two variables. Have you already talked about correlation?
No.
No? Okay, so we can talk about that too. Now, I've written in the objective, be able to identify the correlation between two variables. Now, you were just saying that you know the two variables. Okay, you know the two variables. What would they be? So, if we look up I've got a few sets of axes, but you were talking about two types. So one would be
Independent variable.
an independent variable and
Dependent variable.
a dependent variable. Okay, so this is normally a step further. Where would they be on my axis?
Okay, the independent variable goes on the x-axis.
Okay, so I would put it's not right. Okay, so the
Independent variable goes on the x-axis.
the independent variable, okay, goes on this axis, and the dependent variable. Now, do you know what we mean by an independent and a dependent variable?
The independent variable is the variable that changes, and the dependent variable changes depending on the independent.
Good. Okay, so we're looking at two variables. What does the word variable mean? What does variable mean? It varies. Another word for varies would be it changes. So we're looking at something that changes. So a scatter plot is no good for something that doesn't actually change. That's one important thing. So we're looking at variables, something that changes, and we're kind of looking at a situation where we think one variable changing affects the other one. Okay? And we're looking to graph the result. So, based on what you've been saying, you've already got some experience of variables that affect each other. Could you give me two examples and tell me what you think the effect will be? Millie?
The height of children and how old they are.
Okay, age of a child and their height. Which one would be the independent, would you say?
The height and
The height would be the independent. And so let me just say something to you there. So you think someone's age is dependent on how tall they are. So I can say, if I'm taller, I will be older.
No.
So which way around do you think it is then?
The height is dependent on the age.
Okay, so normally you say it like this to make sense. So if my height is dependent on my age, it makes more sense that as I get older, I get taller. My height depends on how old I am. Now, this also is where we start talking correlation. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay?
Another example is like the time you spend studying and your quiz score.
Yeah, time I spend studying with what I get on the quiz. What do you think happens?
So if you study for longer, your quiz score will be better and higher.
Yeah, exactly. So the dependent one is quiz score. The more you study, the better you should do. Is that certainty?
No.
No? You think it is possible to study more and do worse on your test?
Well, maybe not do really well. Depends what you study.
Higher, isn't it?
If you're really, it's a possibility, but it's not like.
So it's possible, isn't it? Yeah.
You study ice cream.
You can also over-study and study the wrong thing, no?
Yeah.
There's possibilities. You've got any others you can think of?
How much food you feed your goldfish and how fat it gets.
Yeah, how much food with how fat your fish is, yeah.
Like you could do, depending on the temperature outside, how much ice cream people buy.
Yeah, ice cream sales with temperature is, yeah, a normal one.
Depending on how they would be yours,
Thinking scientifically, yeah, the size of the beaker and how quickly the temperature of the water drops, maybe? Yeah?
Dependent on how much you exercise, how strong you are.
Okay, the hours that you spend exercising with how strong you might be. Yeah.
What Ava's trying to say is like, depending on how much oxygen there is, how long this candle burns.
Oh yeah, we did that in science.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
we did that in science.
Okay, so we've got an idea. Now, what we've got to look at though, we learn a bit of vocabulary, is what do we call these relationships? So, there are basically, yeah, the relationship, correlation, right, is another way of saying the relationship between the two variables. And what I mean by this is, does one getting bigger make the other one also get bigger? Or a different relationship would be what? Think about it, be careful. So one relationship would be, if I study more, my grade goes up. So that means, it's like saying, if I eat more food, my weight goes up. Okay, so that's one type of relationship, one type of correlation we'll talk about. Think of another one, but be very careful.
If I study less,
Ah, you fell into the trap. Really?
Probably not.
Yeah? Sierra?
If I study the wrong subject, I would get, if I study more, my scores go down.
Okay, I think I get the idea, but I think we have to maybe think of a different example. Because that is like only if I study the wrong thing, isn't it? But,
Okay, so this is in our science findings.
Yeah.
We have, so I believe that an increase in the independent variable will do all of that. Or there's another one that's, so we have all of those examples, but we also have, I believe that the dependent variable will increase in this order of the independent variable. And so it's like type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, and I don't really understand that.
oh, okay. Maybe I don't either. I'm talking a bit simpler than this. Zoe.
if I study less, my dumbness goes up.
Okay, right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure I appreciate the way you said it, but I get, yeah, no. Do you understand where that's slightly different?
Yeah.
So, one relationship, yes, Ava.
Well, if you study less, you won't get dumber, you just won't get smarter.
True that there is an argument there as well, yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't study, you'll forget everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well, let's get a good memory.
it's something to argue. What I would say as well, there are other examples. I think once we've discussed what that actually means, maybe more will come to you. So, for instance, I'm going to come back to these in a minute, so I'll write this underneath. There are, for me, two types, basically. There is what we would call a positive correlation.
Did you write this down?
Yeah, in a second, but okay, you can write this down. Positive correlation would be one. The other one I want you to consider is a negative. A negative correlation. Okay? Now what we need to do is look at what that actually means. Okay? Right?
Yeah.
So we've got a negative correlation.
Is that like because like
Like,
like in the the math.
In the math.
And negative and positive.
no, it's got nothing to do with negative. Yeah?
If what everyone was just saying now was that a positive correlation? Because like when this happens, it goes up, and then.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. So we'll put this one. If I study more, my score increases. That would be an example of
A
positive correlation. So what I would say there is, if I study more is a 1 increases, my score increases, it also increases.
So what
Okay.
Ray said, like the last I studied, like that thing is that also positive?
Well, what I said was, the first mistake she made was, if I study more, my score increases, but then that's a positive correlation. But Zoe then says, if I study less, my score decreases.
Which is the same thing.
But it's the same thing, yes. Alright?
Would that be a negative one?
Basically, if one goes down, the other one also goes down. So that would be considered a positive correlation. Okay? So the effect is the same, we would say. So if one goes up, the other one goes up. The other one goes down, the other one goes down. So a negative correlation, what do you think? So a negative correlation would be if one goes up,
And the other goes down?
the other one needs to go down. And if the first one goes down, the other one needs to go up.
For instance,
Oh, same and
Okay, you could, but it's not linked, really. It's kind of,
Yeah, that's what I said.
could you think of one? So, what could we say? So, what about as temperature increases, okay, what goes down?
Oh, me. The less people drink hot chocolate.
Yeah, okay. Less people drink hot chocolate. Okay. As temperature drops, more people drink hot chocolate. Okay. So we've got the difference between a positive correlation and a negative. So positive correlation is when one going up makes the other one go up, or it goes down, the other one goes down. A negative correlation where one increases, the other one decreases. Okay. So for instance, I could say if I study more, my score increases. But if I said I study more, what I get wrong decreases. I could do it in that way. Yeah. So that would be the relationship between my study and how many marks I lose would be a negative correlation. But if I say how much I study, the score I get right should increase as well. So that should be a positive correlation. All right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know what you want to use
Nobody wants to
Exactly.
Okay. What I would like from you is the top two. I will come back to this. Don't worry. The top two axes. I would like you all recognise scatter plots, don't you?
Yeah.
You know about putting dots and right. We'll do it. I would like you to tell me. Do it in pencil, just in case. I would like you to draw a graph that shows a positive correlation, okay, and one that shows a negative correlation. Okay? So a negative and a positive and a negative. What do you think they look like? Okay? Do I need to go back down? Yeah. Okay, right, let's well, I just want to discuss something. So there is, I'm going to have a look. What do you think? This is a typical one to discuss when we could say we would actually try and discuss whether there is an independent or dependent variable in this case. What if I said you took two tests? You took a maths test, okay, and you took a science test. Okay. Now, could I put those either way round, or do you think one is dependent on the other? So, for instance, do I have to be good at maths to be good at science? Does it help?
Yes.
But could I not also be good at science and therefore good at maths? Do you think it works that way round? Or do you think I have to be good at maths to be good at science?
No.
So these two potentially might not matter which way round we go. But in terms of plotting a scatter plot, for instance, if we have a positive relationship, each point on the scatter plot will represent one person. So if I put a point here, how would you describe that person and their ability in maths and science?
Not very good.
Not very good at both. Okay? If I put one where someone is good at both, where would it go?
It would be like,
Okay?
bottom, top right.
High maths, high science.
Nice.
And then other people are going to be dotted around. Like this.
So most people are good at both.
So I've got a full range of people. Now they're scattered around because there's no pattern as such, a nice straight line, because people are people. You know, they get 10% in this and they get 15% in the other and so on. So each person, I can read off their science score and I can read off their maths score. Okay. Now, would it be possible for me to have a point over here?
Yes.
It is possible. Yeah.
They would
It just means that they're very bad at math and quite good at
Yeah.
science.
Exactly. It might be possible, depending on what you studied in science. You might not be doing a mathematical bit, you might be doing biology. And you might have got a really good score. But basically, if I forget this person at the moment, all my people, as I get better at one, I get better at the other. This would be what I would call a positive correlation, because the dots kind of go up in this. As my maths test increases, so does science. So they both increase. Okay? Right.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah?
Instead of doing like maths here and science here, could you just do like different types of like dots?
Different types of dots.
So like you could draw some as stars and some as dots.
But no, because these dots represent, in this case, a person. Each one is a person to do with their science test and their maths test.
How then do you do independent variable?
Well, because in this case, there's no. We discussed it might not be. Let's look at a different one then. So let's have a look for my negative correlation. Let's do, instead of 2 test scores, let's do hours of study, okay, with well, not test score, because that would also be a positive correlation, with questions got wrong. Okay. Yeah. So this person here did no studying and got a lot wrong. So that's what that point is. That makes sense.
Yeah, but wouldn't that...
This person did loads of study and got hardly any wrong. So this is the number, okay, number of questions got wrong. Okay? Yeah.
So a positive one increase in the...
I'm asking you, don't need to straight come on.
Is it like a positive correlation goes like that? When you put it, and then a negative goes like that?
Yeah, there you go. So we can see it. The more I study, the less I get wrong. Right? The less I study, the more I get wrong. So what we would hope for is people, the more they study, the less they get wrong. Okay? So it would look like this. Now, I think like you just noticed that generally our positive correlation tends to go in this sort of direction, yeah? And my negative correlation tends to go in the opposite direction like that. Just like, have you done positive and negative gradients? Yes.
In maths investigation.
Yeah, in math investigation.
Exactly, maths investigation. Yeah, positive, that's what I'm asking. Positive and negative gradients.
Oh yeah.
Okay? So that helps.
We have to put that in positive
Okay.
investigation.
So, we've got a negative correlation when the dot's going this way down. There, Sierra, the bottom of your bottle looking good, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, positive correlation going up there. Okay, what I'm going to ask you to do now, have you made your notes, or do you need to do that? The third set of axes is showing no correlation. We need to know what it looks like when there is no relationship, no correlation. There will be dots, exactly. The dots will be all over the place. Spread out over the whole axis. So on your third one, what I would like you to do is try and think. So first of all, there will be dots everywhere. Okay? Alright? Could you maybe come up with two variables where you don't think there will be any relationship?
Is it like two different things? Like
Ice cream and
Maybe? Yeah, maybe. Well, come up with your own, and then in a second I'll ask you and you can share.
I was just sharing my
Right, I'm going to go for one. Okay, I'm going to steal what someone else mentioned.
me.
Okay, I'm going to go for
Ice cream and soda.
someone's height.
Oh, okay.
Okay, someone's height and someone's hair length.
That wasn't.
Someone mentioned that.
mixed
I
them.
didn't.
Well, you know, someone might say, oh, as you get older, your hair gets longer.
Well, yeah.
Exactly, you might cut it. You might be a man that cuts your hair or it falls out. You might be a woman
I
that
just cut my hair.
lets your hair grow all the time. Or, yeah, keep it happy and light, yeah. So, for me,
How fast you can run.
go. Think of two. They don't need to be completely different, you know. They could be something that someone would actually look into. So you might go, you know, age with hair length, or maybe. So have you got some to share with us? Millie, go on then.
I think hours of sailing affect feet growth.
Hours of sailing against foot growth, foot length, size, I guess. Apart from the fact your feet are in water, they might shrivel up and shrink, you know? But yeah, hours that you spend sailing compared to how big your feet are. Yeah, probably no link there. Ciara?
Time you spend singing rather than swimming. Because singing you can do the whole year round, and swimming you only do it.
Yeah, but how do they affect each other?
They don't.
Well, no, that's the whole point. They don't affect each
Yeah,
other.
but like,
She's saying the hours you spend
They-
singing with the hours that you spend swimming. Now,
Oh.
potentially, you might say if I spend too long swimming, I don't sing. Therefore, they could be. But no, it's but could be, might not be. Siri, you had one, yeah?
Yes. How smart you are in math and shopping. Because some people,
How long you spend shopping?
yeah, like some people might use their brain because like you have to have a pleasure and everything, and then some people might just go out to shop for it.
Yeah, I would say whether you're a shopper or not, how much money you spend shopping, or wouldn't necessarily be. Ava,
Hours of studying versus how many trips.
how many what?
Twix bars you eat.
Twix bars you eat, yeah.
But like, what if you study too much? You doesn't eat. You want to learn to study.
There's always arguments for and against. Yeah.
Well,
Eating.
playing. How much tennis you play affects your hair.
How much tennis you play based on how long your hair is. Okay, yeah.
How many shoes you own affects how much makeup you get.
Oh no, there's a definite correlation there.
Oh yeah, because like, yeah.
Yeah,
No, potentially, you're right. How much?
Small party.
I would go that one. The more shoes you buy, maybe you buy a lot of makeup as well. But that would be something to look into, you see. We don't know for definite.
One to look into would be like what color your hair is and how fast it grows.
Okay, I've got a question for that one. What colour your hair is? Is there anyone that wants to comment on choosing what colour your hair is, Laura?
Your hair color can change. You can
But does it change in the way that hair length or height changes consistently? So hair colour would be what we consider, exactly, but that's it. But it's considered categorical data where we would have bar charts going up or dots, or there's nothing in between. You are either red hair or blonde hair. There's no kind of graduated process of going from red to blonde as you just get older.
Yes.
So that,
You
no, don't argue with me on this one, right? You might try and argue, but your hair, unless you're saying as you're really young and you go from blonde to dark, but you know, generally what you're saying, hair colour, would be an example that wouldn't fit on a scatter plot because it would just be in lines. You're either blue hair, pink hair, blonde hair, brown hair. There's nothing in between.
That should be
So,
a bar chart.
bar charts would fit better. Ava, are you going to argue about hair colour now? Can we move on from hair colour?
People's hair color is all different because
I'm not
they
saying
have the
about,
exact same
but I'm not
color.
saying about different. I'm saying does it change? Can I ask you, Ava, to sit here now and change your hair colour? Go. No. But can I say, Ava, grow?
Yeah,
You are.
well, she's doing it anyway.
You are growing.
But you can't, she's not gonna do
I
it on
can't measure it at the moment, but you are growing.
right now.
So if I came back 2 weeks' time, you would have grown, but your hair colour, unless you physically go, I'm going to go to red, you'd have to make a jump.
Unless it's the summer, because some people say in the summer it gets like lighter, and then some people say.
True.
Yeah.
But it's like eye colour, hair colour, that kind of thing. Categorical then. Annabelle.
Okay, how much talking you do affect how good you are at surfing?
Ooh.
At what? Surfing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You could be
okay.
like talking about that.
You could be a big talker, yeah?
If you spend
Anyone else?
Wait, no, technically, so you could change your hair outfit.
Oh, let's move on from the hair colour. Right?
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, how does the amount of crayons you buy affect how much you like swimming?
The amount of crayons that you buy with how much you like swimming.
Or how much you swim?
We've got to be very, how much you swim at. We've got to be very careful at how we think of it. What I would like from you now, right, just to finish off last few minutes. So we've got examples of positive correlation, negative correlation, and no correlation. I would like you, just to finish off your notes, underneath, I would like you to write down 2 variables that would show us a positive correlation you think in your eyes, a negative correlation, and then 2 that will give no correlation. We've talked about plenty. I just want you to write down and practice on your communication with a reason why you think so. 1 sentence. Okay? Ava. 1 sentence. Practice your communication. So, you can say positive correlation would be this against this, and what's your reason for thinking that? You know, it might be obvious, like if I study more, then my grade should go up. Yeah. Right.
Whenever, like for the symbol for like pause,
Yeah.
it sounds like I wrote post because there was pause and then the addition sign, and then it looked like a T. So now it looks like it's post.
I'm lost. I'm sure it's important.
I feel like you're saying this wrong.
Oh no!